Systems of equations, the addition method, part 2. Let's solve this system using the addition method. Now the addition method means that when I add down, I'm going to get rid of either an x or a y. So what I'm looking for is a number and its opposite. Do you see I have -3 and +3? Well, that tells me that if I add down right now, -3x plus 3x is 0x, and that's what I want. +2y minus 1y is y, and 9 minus 2 is 7. So I didn't have to do anything to either one of these equations to get rid of an x. Well, 0x is the same thing as 0, and it just so happens that y equals 7. Now to solve for x, I can use either of the equations I want. It doesn't matter. So let's use the first one. So I have -3x plus 2 times y, which is 7. Now remember, I'm using the first equation here, equals 9. So -3x plus 14 equals 9. Now I'm solving for x, so I'm going to subtract 14 from both sides of the equal sign. I get -3x equals, now 9 minus 14 is -5. And then I divide by -3 to get x by itself. So x equals, now a negative divided by a negative is a positive. So I get 5/3. Now some of you are worried about that fraction, but let's make sure that it works. It checks. It doesn't matter which equation I use to check because x is 5/3 and y is 7 will make both of these true. But we'll use the second one here. So I'm going to take 3 times x, which happens to be 5/3, minus y, which happens to be 7, and hopefully that'll equal -2 if we did it right. 3 is over 1. When I multiply fractions, I multiply straight across. So 3 times 5 is 15, and 1 times 3 is 3, minus 7 should equal -2. Well, 5 divided by 3 is 5, and so 5 minus 7 does indeed equal -2, so I knew that I solved these correctly. And I should probably write them as an ordered pair. And remember, what does that mean? It means if I graph them, that line and that line would intersect at 5/3 and 7. Let's use the addition method to solve this system. The addition method means when I add down, I get either a 0x or a 0y. Now let's see if that happens. I'm going to rewrite these equations really fast here. And I'm going to add down. Well, x plus x is 2x. -y plus -y is -2y. And 9 plus 4 is 13. Do you see I don't get a 0x or 0y, which means I'm going to have to do something to the first equation, the second equation, or to both of them. So let's see how that's going to work. Now it doesn't matter which one I'm going to solve for, x or y, but let's solve for x. Now this is a positive 1x and this is also a positive 1x. If I multiply the first one by -1, I'll get -1x plus y equals -9, and the second equation will be y minus x equals 4. Do you see that I have opposites here? I have a -1 and a positive 1. That's a good thing. So now I'm going to add down. -x plus x is 0x. Positive y minus y is also a 0y. And -9 plus 4 is -5. But do you see something? I get rid of my x and my y. That means 0 equals -5. Well, what does that mean exactly? It means that these two equations are parallel lines. Remember, parallel lines will never intersect, so there's no solution for this system. Now let's go a little farther. How do I know they're parallel lines, even though I just tried to solve and figure out their intersect point? Well, let's look at the first one. X minus y equals 9. Let's get it into y equals mx plus b form. So I'm going to subtract x. I'm going to get negative y equals negative x plus 9. Divide by negative 1. This is stuff we've already done. So y equals, now negative divided by negative is a positive, so I have 1x. 9 divided by negative 1 is minus 9. So the slope of that line is 1. Now let's try the second one. So that second equation says x minus y equals 4. Once again, I'm going to get it into my y equals mx plus b form. Subtract x from both sides of the equation. Negative y equals negative x plus 4. Divide by negative 1. So I get y equals 1x minus 4. Do you see the slopes are the same? That also proves that these are parallel lines and that there's no solution. Let's solve this system using the addition method. Now when we use the addition method, we want to add down and get either a 0x or a 0y. But I notice when I add down here, I'll get a 4x, and when I add down here, I get a negative 5y. So that's not going to work. That means I have to do something to the first equation, the second equation, or both of them. Now when I look at this, I'm going to have to do something to both of them. Well, maybe. If I multiplied this equation by negative 3, I would have negative 3x here, wouldn't I? And this would be a positive 3. And you know what? That's what I want. So let's do that. So the top one I'm going to leave alone. 3x minus 2y equals 7. And then the next one I'm going to multiply everything by negative 3. So I'm going to have negative 3x plus 9y equals negative 3. So now when I add down, I get 0x plus 7y equals 4. Now 0x is the same thing as 0. So I have 7y equals 4. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 7. So y equals 4/7. Now don't forget I have another fraction here, okay? So now what I want to do is I want to solve for x. Now I can either use the first equation or the second equation. It doesn't matter. I'll end up with the same x value. But let's use the second one because the x is kind of by itself. But like I said, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to have x minus 3 times y, which is 4/7, equals 1. I'm going to multiply here, so I'm going to have x. 3 times 4 is 12. 1 times 7 is 7, equals 1. I need to get x by itself, so I'm going to add 7/12. Sorry about that. Yeah, 7/12 to both sides. Now 1, I want a common denominator of 7. So 1 is the same thing as 7/7. So 7 plus 12 is 19. So I'm going to get x equals, now 7 plus 12 is 19. And I end up with 19/7. So I have two fractions here. But we can have those as answers. So let's check it. I'm going to use the first equation. And hopefully when we put in x and we put in y, we'll end up with a 7. That means we did it right. So 3 times x, which is 19/7, minus 2 times y, which is 4/7, hopefully will equal 7. So here, well, 3 times 19. Well, I'm going to have to do that one over here because I don't know that one in my head. So 3 times 19, 9 times 3 is 27. 3 times 1 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So that's 57/7. Minus, now 2 times 4 is 8. 8/7 hopefully will equal 7. We're not sure yet. Now I need to take 57 and minus 8. So I'm going to have to do that over here too because I don't quite have that one in my head. So I'm going to borrow. So 17 minus 8 is 9, and I get 49. So 49/7 hopefully will equal 7. And yep, 49 divided by 7 is 7. So we know we did this one right.